Hi everyone. Um, I have been thinking about doing this video for some time already. I just didn't know exactly what my thoughts were going to be, but I realized that once I start overthinking something, then it's not genuine, or I'm just an overthinker, I guess. But typically I'll come on and I'll do updates on Mike's condition, which we'll probably do one either together or by ourselves next week sometime. But I wanted to do a video. This one is for the kids out there, and these are for the Keegan's friends, um, Keegan's people who didn't know Keegan. Kids have been reaching out to me, as well as parents that, I'm not the only one that was dealing with this. We know that our teen depression is rampant. It's out there, not only in teens, but in adults as well. And uh, it's still something that isn't talked about. So I recently got this message from someone in a different state, that I don't know, but it was a young adult, um, 19, maybe 19, uh, and sent me this message, and it just really brought me to tears. And that isn't the only email or text that I've gotten, or message that I've gotten through social media, but some of Keegan's friends, kids that knew Keegan, kids that didn't know Keegan, parents that of children who are suffering through the same thing. I'm not a, a, a therapist. I'm not a professional. I just started documenting Keegan's struggles, because he was very open and honest and vocal about it. And this is kind of my way of keeping his name and memory alive. And um, so I decided that I was going to do this video to kind of just put it out there for the kids. First of all, I want to thank all of you kids that I know personally that have continuously sent me photos, videos of Keegan. Our kids are one way with their friends, one way with us. It just kind of, the videos and pictures that they send me and continue to send me. They make me smile. I save every single one of them, and it brings me a lot of happiness. At the same time, it makes me sad that he's not here, and at the same time I enjoy them, because I see how he tried so hard to be happy, and I know there were moments of him being happy. But for those of you who don't know, and who don't know the story very well, and maybe this is your first time seeing this video, um, on November 4th, 2024, my son decided he was going to end his life after just over 2 years of 2 to 3 years of battling depression. His first suicide attempt was in February of 2022. And he was not successful. And that was his first introduction to therapy on that level. He had already been to a therapist and had been seeking help. He was very big on that. He was very big on sharing his struggles with his friends and teachers and anybody who would listen. I've had parents come to me and say, "Oh, he came to me, he told me," you know, and to me, it makes me feel good that although I wasn't the only person he shared it with, he was smart enough to know that he was comfortable enough to know that he can open up and confide in people that he trusted and loved. And and his struggle was real. It wasn't a phase, because in the beginning, yes, I was that parent that thought, oh, this is just a phase. This was right, kind of in the, in the beginnings of like what is it, a year or two into COVID, and there's this thing called all these COVID kids, and it's a real thing. And I just thought, oh, it's just a phase, and then he attempted his first attempt, and a it was a huge awakening for me as a parent, as a family, and um, it was just a constant worrying on my part as his mother. He really, really, really wanted to be happy. He wanted to be able to go to sleep like we all are able to go to sleep when we're tired. He wanted to be able to think happy thoughts and see life full, but he always saw life empty. And I would get that from the thousands of conversations that I had with him. And in the beginning, I didn't share these with my family. And um, towards the end, maybe like the last 6 months before Keegan died, I was very open, and kind of came to them because I was just at a loss of how I'm supposed to help him. And they had no clue, they had no idea that he was suffering this hard, and I really think that comes from being embarrassed as a parent that I didn't have the answers to protect my child. And this goes to all of you kids that are listening now, as well as parents. This video is for you guys. It's and the reason why I'm bringing it up now is because this message came from a young adult that said, I lost a friend at the age of 15, and here I am 4 or 5 years later, and it still affected this person, and that this person themselves contemplated suicide many times. And watching my story, watching Keegan's story, and me being honest and open about the struggles, they really thought twice about committing suicide, because they realize how much love they have for their family and the pain that it would cause, because they see the pain that it's causing us. And this person cannot imagine inflicting that pain on their little brother, their mom, the family. And right there, I knew that this is what I'm supposed to keep doing. Sharing the story, sharing it to you kids that are struggling right now. Us as parents, we don't have all the answers. There isn't, I know this is so cliche, we've said it before, but there isn't a book on how to be a parent. I wasn't a perfect parent. I made a lot of mistakes. And I wish I could have done things differently. But I think if Keegan hadn't chose that, there's still things I wish I would have done differently. But on November 4th, Keegan decided he just couldn't do this anymore. He couldn't live this way anymore. And there were a lot of things leading up to it. He had called me one day and he's like, "Mama, I need to talk to you." And I raced over there and we spent time, and he just dumped a lot on me. And all I did was listen. And I told him that I loved him, that I wish things hadn't been that way, and that I was sorry that I couldn't, and he goes, "Mama, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Don't blame yourself." But us as parents, we We think by loving them is enough. But in cases like this, it's not. It's, he told me, Mama, I know you love me, but this isn't about that. This is what's going on here. He would do that. It's in here, Mama. And for kids that are watching this right now, understand that us as parents, we don't know how to fix this. But for any parents that are watching, all I ask is that you just listen. And I have a text message from Keegan saying, Mama, all I want you to do is just listen and love me and tell me it's going to be okay. So that's all I would do. We were a week into his 18th birthday, and I had seen him the Saturday before the 4th of November for my oldest son's birthday, and I could tell something was wrong. And I hadn't known, but he had told me I took myself to therapy. And I was so shocked because usually his dad or myself take him to therapy. And we let him kind of be the take the lead on therapy. You know, I want to go, or I want to stop, or Mama, I need to talk to my therapist. But he himself made the appointment and got himself to that appointment. And I didn't know he had done that until we got to my mom's that Saturday before. And I had said, I didn't know you went. And I never asked him what they talked about. I just said, was it good? Sometimes he would share some, but I wanted to give him that respect that it was between him and his therapist. So we talked, and I could see he was sad. I could see he was tired. And then on Monday, November 4th, my oldest son texted or called me. I can't remember too much, and says, have you heard from Keegan? Well, it was Monday, so I usually, if Keegan wasn't with me, he was with his dad or he was at his little girlfriend's house. And usually, if I got off work, if he wasn't waiting for me to come to my house, I was picking him up from his dad's, or his dad would drop him off at my house, at my work, so that we can go home together. It was just, we had this routine. And then if he wasn't coming to my house when I got off work, I would always call him. So in the mornings, you know, he had graduated, so I didn't call him. So I hadn't heard from him Monday morning. And Monday, my oldest son says, have you heard from Keegan? And I said, no. He goes, have you looked at his story? And I said, no. And he sent me screenshots, but I immediately went to Keegan's page, to his story, and he had taken a half selfie. And on it, all it said was, I'm sorry. And my heart dropped. I wish my love was enough to save him. If it was, he'd still be here. I raced to the hospital. I had called his phone. He wouldn't answer. And I called again, and a police officer answered the phone and said that I needed to get to Loma Linda, that he had been involved in an accident. So I called my son, who was working for AMR. It's the ambulance company, if you guys don't know what that is. If you dial 911, my son works for. And he had been out in that area in San Bernardino for a meeting. A meeting of some kind. And I called him immediately and I said, this is what happened. And I remember asking the officer who he was because it just wasn't registering. And I kept saying, where's my son? Is he dead? And I remember him saying, why would you say that? Because I think there was a part of me that knew. So I remember just being on autopilot. I remember walking in, and like I think the girls at work saw my face, and I just grabbed all my things, and they were like, we'll drive you, we'll drive you. And I said, no, I can drive myself. And I think I just needed that time alone. And I called my husband and told him he was involved in some sort of accident. And my husband's sick. He was in bed sick from chemotherapy. And I remember driving towards Loma Linda and thinking I have a whole hour. And I remember just screaming for God to spare my son. To let me have another chance to be his mom. It took me so long to get there. And my oldest son messaged me, and he met me there, and he goes, Mom, I'm here. I said, okay, I'm parking. I'm parking. As I was parking, a doctor called me and said, ma'am, where are you? And he had been admitted to he had been admitted to the hospital as a John Doe because they didn't know who he was. So then I told him what my son looked like and what he was wearing. And they said, well, they had a John Doe just come in with that description. So I said, that's my son. That's my baby. I'm like, I'm on my way. And they said, okay, just go through the ER. The nurses will guide you in. So my son had called me and said, Mom, I'm here. Let me know when you're here. He had just arrived a few minutes before. And when I was parking, my oldest son had gotten out of the ER and met me. And right when I was walking towards my son, my phone had rang, and it was a doctor saying, are you here? And I said, yes, I'm parking. Okay, we'll meet you inside. And I knew either he was in critical condition or he was gone, because doctors don't call you. So when we walked in, my son being a first responder, the nurses knew him, and I could tell like everybody just looked kind of sad. And they got it. We went through the ER, but then they put us in a private room, and that's when I knew. And I said, why are we being put in this room? What's wrong? Where's Keegan? What's wrong? Do you know something? And my son, who, like I said, works for AMR, he had reached out to one of his coworker colleagues who actually had went on Keegan's call and told him what happened. So my son Will told me that what he had heard, and I just collapsed at that point. And then the doctors came in and told me what they had done, what they tried to do for him. But, he had fought. He had fought. It wasn't immediate. But at that point, they had to make a decision. And he just kind of went off. It, they were taking him out of one room. They were doing scans on him, and he had just went away. He had passed. He had passed a few minutes before I had arrived to the hospital. So for the kids that are watching this, that have been following my story, Keegan's story, this is grief. I would tell Keegan, if you were to go, my heart will be broken. We are such a close family that we would feel your loss. We would feel it. No, Mama, I'm not going to do that. But then in times of sadness, he would just scream and say he just wants to be better. He's tired of this in his head. He's tired of it. The thoughts that consume him, the desire to just be able to peacefully be able to just go to sleep. Reach out, you kids, reach out to your parents, reach out to a professional. I see a lot of memes and I see a lot of people saying, this generation is weak. But I would like to think that our this generation of kids is just growing up very differently. I grew up very different. They're being exposed to so much more than what I ever did. When I grew up, I only knew what was happening on my street. Our kids know what's happening everywhere. COVID didn't make it easy. I feel like COVID brought out a lot of this, because prior to that, Keegan was okay. He started showing signs of sadness. He came and said, Mama, I'm not feeling a lot of sadness. And it was in the summer of, I want to say, of 2021. It was that summer. It was the summer of 2021 that he came to me and said, I'm feeling a lot of sadness inside that I just don't know what to do with. So that was the beginning, the summer of 2021, I remember. And like I said, his first attempt was in February of 2023. And then he made a permanent decision on November 4th. And he passed away right before 4 o'clock that day. So you kids that are thinking about it, just talk to somebody, reach out to somebody. I'm going to include the suicide hotline at the bottom of the video in the information. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your parents, talk to a teacher, a pastor, if you're not in school anymore, a friend. You can reach out to me. I can only share what I've been here, what I've been going through personally. But you need to talk to somebody. Just remember, a permanent decision has lifelong consequences to the people that love you. And you are loved. You are very much loved and needed in this world. I know the feelings of depression lie. They lie to you. Depression is a soul killer. It's a liar. It takes away joy and it makes it feel very real. But just remember that those decisions are lifelong consequences to the people around you that love you. And parents who are in my situation, listen to your kids with no judgments. Let them have just listen. That's all they want, is to feel validated and listened. You may not understand it. I didn't. Some of it I did. A lot of it I didn't. But I remember Keegan just telling me, all I want you to do is listen, Mama, and tell me you love me. And that's what I did. So this video is for you kids out there, you young adults that are going through this, that have been suffering, maybe in silence. Keegan was a huge advocate in therapy. He loved therapy. He would tell me that Saturday before he passed away, he told me, they can't help me. They don't have the answers, but they've taught me to communicate, to share those feelings, to get it out, and be able to talk to people. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm sharing it. Keegan would want that. Keegan would do that. So seek help, ask for help. It takes bravery and strength to ask for help. There's a lot of people who suffer in silence and they mask it and they hide it and they suppress it. But it takes courage to ask for help. So don't be embarrassed to ask for help. And parents, don't make your child feel less than for feeling that way. Like I said, you may not understand it, but it's very real to them. I lean on prayer and strength from God. That's what keeps me going. I have this peace around me that I felt immediately, like a day or 2 days after Keegan passed away. In my grief, I felt this peace that just came. It didn't replace the sadness. I'm sad every day, but I think I will always be that way. It's going to be my new normal. I have to cope with it. I have to figure out how to live with it, because Keegan was my baby. He was I'm a boy mom. I have 2 boys. My oldest one is 31 and Keegan is 18. And he'll forever be 18 years old. And there is a comfort in knowing that Keegan no longer is struggling, that I don't have to worry about him. I remember Mike one time telling me, you no longer have to worry about him, babe. And it's very true. He was right. But I have to live with the sadness of the decision that he made. Movies was our thing. Keegan was my movie date. We would go to movies all the time. When I was with his dad, his dad worked 24-hour shifts, sometimes multiple days in a row. And my oldest son had left for the Navy. So it was Keegan and I in this big house. And so we would do movies a lot. We had just went to the movies like a week and a half before we went for his birthday. I had asked him, what do you want to do for your birthday? My kids are easy, super easy. He's like, I want to go to In-N-Out for my birthday, and then I want to go see a movie. So we went to go to In-N-Out, and then I want to say like a few days later, we went to go see a movie. And then I have not been to the movies since. I can't go. I can't. The movies was like our thing. So I haven't been back since. But I just wanted to make this video for kids because I've just been receiving so many messages with you kids coming and telling me what an impact um, Keegan's story is making on you, what my grief is making you think twice about decisions that are very permanent. Parents, this is for you as well, as because I've also been receiving a lot of messages from you all. And I feel like maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, with that being said, I want to express my gratitude and thank you all for your words, for the gifts. I've received so many gifts of memorials, pictures, paintings, just gifts of remembrance for Keegan all over the world of the sky. Now the sky reminds them of Keegan and me. Keegan, you've made a huge impact in this world with the decision so permanent. But Mama will continue to tell your story and help other people because you were such a giver. You wanted to see the best in everybody. You wanted to make people happy. So I'm going to continue that for you. I love you, Pop.